Hey, yo, it's Rick here with Uncommon Communion and happy Fat Monday. Yeah, we are just 48 hours away from the start of Lent. I know that's not necessarily something to get excited about, but I get excited about that because it allows me a time of year to reassess my own life as the world creation is moving into its new life and new birth. Of course, in the Northern Hemisphere, whenever we talk about that, we always have to have that clarifier. And today that has ended, which is Sunday, I'm recording on Monday, I had a really cool experience that I think is a good starting point for us and a good pre Lent place for me. Let's begin, as we always begin, by recognizing, realizing, celebrating, and proclaiming with every single action that we do, with every single person that we meet, that we are always and everywhere in the holy presence of the more and each other. So today, Sunday, excuse me, I got to do something really cool that I wanted to do, and I got paid for it. That was the coolest part. I've shared here before that I work at a winery on Saturdays, and I've been doing this for more than 13 years now. Well, this morning, the owner texted to the small staff that she needed someone to come in the afternoon and work a very simple shift with a drum circle that she is holding every other Sunday. I wanted to go 2 weeks ago. I was able to go this particular Sunday. And I'll put a photo in the chat, excuse me, in the notes, and you'll get to see it here. It was really cool. It was really cool. You'll see the teacher. He's over on the right side of the photo. You'll recognize my friend Mark, who is sitting closest to the door. The empty seat, of course, is my seat. So I got to pour wine, get paid, and also drum. And there was at least three things that I really liked about it. Number one is that the teacher was really good in teaching us rhythms and history and geography connecting to Africa, West Africa, which incidentally is where I have many colleagues, many people that I'm training are, that is their heritage. That's where they're from. So that was kind of cool. Number two, just drumming. I've not drummed in a long time. I have a drum. I've shown it here in the podcast. And I think that it's something I want to do more because when you are drumming, and it was funny because he's teaching us rhythms, and at times I was kind of overthinking it and trying to stay in tune. I think the more I would do drumming, the better I would get at it. So there is a skill to it, of course. But I also think that the more comfortable I would be with it and able to just really immerse myself in the sound and the movement and the rhythm. And there's just so many things that it does, I think, to the body and to the soul and emotions, and I want more. Today was just a little taste, and I want more. And then finally, the last piece for me is doing something like this that was safe, special, and sacred, I believe, in a place that I am so familiar with. It just adds one more piece of history for me, one more significant aspect or item of that place. And it was nice to add something new, something that I had not done in that space in the 13 years that I've worked there, and something I'll perhaps hopefully do more of as well. So, one more day after today to Lent. This particular Fat Tuesday, the day after the day that you're seeing this, is a special one. And I'll talk more about that tomorrow. And I should say this, y'all, that I am hoping to write this week. It's going to be a really busy teaching week. I'm leading trainings all 5 days. And the Tuesday one is a regular one, but it's going to be huge. So I'm a little anxious about that. And I think it's going to take a lot out of me. But don't be surprised if I do more recording this week than writing. But I do want to launch some new things for Lent, some new, I've got some ideas, and I'll talk to you about those tomorrow, and then launch those, of course, on Wednesday. And one thing I really want to direct your attention to is throughout Lent, I'm going to be referring back to my posts for Lent last year. And I posted every day in Lent last year. That's where I kind of started this everyday rhythm. And the last year's posts, I think, will give you a different way to follow and some different things to consider than what I'll be doing for this year. And I mention that because the dates are not going to line up. The days of Lent will line up, of course, but the dates won't. So do keep that in mind. All right, y'all, we are on the 16th, which is Psalm 47. It's a short one, and I'll read the whole thing to you here because it is fairly short, and then I want to wrap up because it's after midnight, and I need to get some sleep. So here is the psalm. It's it's very short, but 9 verses. Yeah. All tribes and nations, clap your hands, shout for joy to Creator with songs of victory. For Grandfather is the grand chief of all the earth, the one above us all. He is to be treated with great honor and respect. He gave us victory over other tribes and brought nations under our power. He chose to give us land to honor his promise to heal grabber Jacob and those he loves. The people shout as the Great Spirit rises to his seat of honor in the world above. The eagle bone whistle is sounded as he sits down in his honored place. Sing honor songs to Creator on the drum. Let us sing and dance to our great chief with songs of praise. For the Great Spirit is grand chief of all the earth. Sing traditional songs to him that make his heart glad. He rules over all the nations from his sacred seat of honor in the spirit world above. The chiefs of all nations will gather with the people of the Great Spirit, of Father of many nations, Abraham. For the shields of the earth belong to the Great Spirit, the one who is to be honored above all others. So a few things to point out there. First of all, the musical instruments that are described, right? Drum is certainly one of them. And again, I just think it's so striking how drums span so many different cultures, right? Percussion, this earthy experience, is so connected to indigenous people, whether they are in Africa or the Americas or Asia. Interestingly enough, Europe just doesn't have a drum percussive tradition. You know, as far as I can tell, the Romans, I don't think, banged on drums very often, at least not in what I have learned. They probably had them. I mean, a drum is a fairly simple instrument. You just hit something, right, and makes a rhythm. And rhythm is something we pick up all around us, you know, starting with our heartbeat, right? So I think that it is significant that it appears there in the psalm. Second thing related to an instrument is the eagle bone whistle. And there's a footnote here. There's not very many footnotes in this version, this translation. It says that that's the shofar, which you'll remember is the ram's horn that the priest or the leader of the gathered blows on the Jewish high holy days. Second thing I want to point out is this idea of the ruling over the nations, right? And I think this is one of those places that the Christian nationalists and those people that, you know, think we got to be dominion and, you know, that we got to, America has to be a Christian nation and God, all that garbage. It is there in the tradition, right? I mean, it is in a psalm just like right here, and it's certainly elsewhere in the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible. It's not in Jesus, though, right? Jesus never talks like this. He doesn't quote this psalm, doesn't quote psalms like this. The psalms that Jesus does quote are of a different tone, certainly. And yet, this is what those folks the nationalists, the Christian nationalists, the white Christian nationalists, right? Because there's a lot of white supremacy that's all wrapped up and tucked in there. Many of them want this type of God. They want this as their commission, as their mission, and it's not, right? Jesus says, love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. That's the commission. And, it doesn't take a biblical scholar or a Jesus follower who truly follows Christ to recognize that so many of the things that the so-called Christians, nationalists, are doing just isn't love. Just isn't love. All right, y'all. I need to get to bed and want to read just a little bit of a prayer today. This came up in the Celtic Book of Prayers. And this is our end. Lord, you are my island, in your bosom I rest. You are the calm of the sea, in that peace I lie. You are the deep waves of the ocean, in their depths I stay. You are the smooth white strand of the shore, in its swell I sing. You are the ocean of life that laps my being, in you is my eternal joy. All right, y'all. I hope you have a good week of transition in the liturgical calendar. It's going to be warmer where I live. I hope maybe it's warmer where you live. Hopefully, the worst of the winter is already behind us. And again, y'all, as always, blessing and good. Be well, be bold, hold fast, y'all.